Welcome to Clever Criminals.
No.
Sorry, it's Clever Orbits, your
Thank
favorite
you.
Star Trek podcast. Today we've got a skeleton crew. It's just me, Richard Futrell, and...
Lewis, Mac, Allen Brantmeyer.
Good. You said previously that you were only going to give your full name once, but I think you've done it, on almost every episode.
Well, Kirk said, "I'll kill you later," and then he didn't, to that one Klingon in Star Trek 3.
That is true. So today we're discussing Discovery Season 1, Episode 8, Si Vis Pacem para Bellum. How do you feel about that pronunciation?
It's Church Latin. That's good.
Good. So the Latin title's cool. If you want peace, prepare for war. It's cool because it's really it's an interesting commentary on what's going on in this episode. So in this episode, they have to go to this planet called Pavo, where there are these creatures called the Pavans that really want to create peace. And they want to go there so they can use some kind of emitter in order to disable the cloaking device that the Klingons are using, which we can discuss. We can discuss whether that makes any sense. But anyway, the Pavans are really into peace. And they talk to the Pavans, and they think they've made a deal with the Pavans. And what the Pavans have actually done is invited the Klingons to the planet in order to talk things out with the Federation. So in order to get peace, they prepare for war. In order to get peace, the Pavans create a situation where there's about to be a lot more. And their desire to bring peace to Saru also causes a lot of trouble for Saru, because he desires that peace so much that he starts to beat up his crewmates and lose perspective. I thought it was a pretty cool episode that, it would have been a good original series episode. What do you think?
You actually just redeemed it for me. I didn't understand it at first. I didn't see the subtleties to it. But, I really get that it's all about the Pavans and how they have this general will to create peace, and they mess stuff up in honoring that will.
As they say, they've never encountered any other species before, which raises some questions. Like, on the planet, there's a hut, but if the only thing that lives there, the only animal that lives there is this energy being, then why is there a hut? That doesn't make any sense. A hut that's just tall enough to accommodate humans.
And Saru.
And Saru. It's very convenient. But,
Pavan, Pavo in Latin means peacock.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I guess they are pretty. And they're blue. So another thing I really liked in this episode is that there's a lot of really low-level references to the original series and especially to the cage. Like this fact that there's a planet with blue leaves that are singing and it makes people happy. That's something that happens in the cage. You even see Spock smiling about that in the cage with a blue leaf. And the fact that when they go down in the away party, they've got these stupid backpacks, that's just right out of the cage. I also like the fact that they refer to the Prime Directive as General Order 1. That's another throwback to original series, but they're always talking about those general orders.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I'm focusing on the planet stuff because I think the Klingon stuff was really very weak, but the planet stuff was good.
Yeah, the Klingon stuff was confusing.
It really was. There's so many layers of deception in L'Rell and her intentions, and that it's just so murky. They're on that ship. I guess it's cool that there's layers of deception, but it also feels like there's things that should be clear and aren't. It's hard to even interpret what's going on the screen. Did she kill the Admiral? Is the Admiral dead? Do you know? And
was she actually willing to defect in order to fight
Yeah,
Cole?
Did she really want to defect?
Right?
When she fought the Admiral, was that staged or was that part of the plan? When she went to Cole and said the prisoner, she told Cole the prisoner escaped. Does that mean that she said she's on the loose, or she said she escaped and then I killed her? I don't know. It's just really, really, I feel like we should know these things, and that the writing is just not clear. I bet, the main writer for this is Kirsten Beyer of Voyager novel fame, and the consensus is that she's very good. And so I suspect she did the planet stuff and the other writers did the Klingon stuff.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff in some of the articles that I've seen online about how the story gets what's called broken.
Yeah.
Which, they sit in the writer's room and they all work together to make it happen and develop plot points. And so, yeah, let me see, I'm trying to remember if there are any specific books that I've read of hers. Nope, I've actually not read any of her books, according to Memory Alpha. So this may be the first. Richard, you'll love this. One of her books is titled A Pocket Full of Lies.
Good.
And then
Pocket Full of Criminals.
Another one is To Lose the Earth.
See, those are good titles. Those would be good original series titles.
A Pocket Full of Lies. I'm not sure that's a good title for anything.
Yeah. except the story of your life.
Did you ever see, there's this, I forget his name, this guy whose movies are so bad that they're good. Like, it's apparently this one
Plan
guy.
9, the Plan 9 guy, Frank Wood or Ed Wood.
No, it's another one.
Yeah? That's the only one I know.
Anyway, it's like a title for a film that he would make. Like, it's so brilliantly cliche and dumb and over the top that you would only expect it from him.
Good.
Anyway, so yeah, I was surprised. His name is Neil Breen. Neil Breen.
I see.
Are you familiar?
I'm not familiar.
He did Double Down.
Double Down sounds like a movie of that kind.
He's anyway, this, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but the notes that I took. So okay, I get that I had some trouble understanding what was going on in the episode. I missed a whole bunch of references, and what else? Oh, I was exhausted when I tried to sit down to watch it. Like, I was just like, because I did my workshop series yesterday, which was a big success, but I had caffeine for the first time in 8 months, and it knocked me off kilter, which was a good lesson to learn. Oh, thank you, yeah. Well, we had somebody sign up for the next one in January, which I have very little to no planning or infrastructure creation around. I just know that I want it to happen, and he was like, okay, yeah, I really want to come. Here's some money. But
I bet the soothing blue forest didn't help with staying awake.
Oh, no, it didn't. It was super beautiful, though.
It was very calm, though. It's true. This was not a episode I would call exciting. Although it did start with the battle with the Klingons.
Yeah, I get the sense that they might have put that battle in because they were trying to make it more exciting.
Yeah.
And
yet the people on the bridge didn't look that excited during the battle. They looked like very calm and a little bored, even though they were about to die.
Well, I don't think they thought they were about to die. I think they all have the spore drive in their back pocket, so to speak. Like, they're like, yeah, we don't have to worry. And he was pretty quick on the draw when he was like, all right, that's it, Black Alert, let's go. I mean,
it's good. It's good that he knows when to cut his losses.
Yeah, well, so the first time I watched it, I was kind of like, well, that was a thing. I guess it's not cool to see these people fighting on the screen and the graphics and stuff. Nice. And then, we move on to the planet. We spend most of our time there. We get the Stamets stuff. I love this. Well, I'm sad to see happy-go-lucky, groovy Stamets go.
Yeah.
And I'm interested. Like, his was kind of some of the most interesting character stuff in this episode because, who knows what's going to happen next. And now it's sort of interesting, right? Because in transformation, dealing with people as a coach, I'll see people create or access whole nother parts of their personality and become super powered in like a new form of expression that feels really good to them, that they really enjoy, that is so different from who they usually are. And then something happens that triggers their old programming, and the new neural pathways that have been created like quickly get subverted by the massive momentum and weight of the inertia of who they have been for decades. And so this is part of why in Landmark they talk about you got to stay in the conversation because like it's not normal, it's not natural to create a whole new way of being or a different lifestyle or a higher level of income or whatever and be able to like maintain it and be comfortable with it without support. Usually there are your one-offs who like, or excuse me, not your one-offs. There are the diehard transformational like self-developers who take a year or 2 years doing the same things, like by brute force over and over, using affirmations, exercise, etc., whatever practices, who are able to like reprogram their subconscious mind and shift. But by and large, most people don't like commit to that level of working on themselves. So anyway, all of that said, my view on what happened with Stamets is it wasn't his old self came back. It was like his new self got kind of derailed by his anxiety in dealing with the Hugh. He finally has a name. Hugh situation.
Hugh Colbert. Yeah, that and it seemed like he was a bit worried that he might be sort of losing it. Like his interaction with Tilly suggested that.
Yeah, he got defensive. He was trying to pretend like nothing was wrong.
So do you think when he saw Tilly and said captain, do you think he was in that moment in an alternate universe where she was the captain?
No, I think that's stupid.
He said that he exists outside of space and time.
Well, yeah, they're ascribing a lot of different things to this mycelial realm or mycelial plane.
And we have to assume it's going to be gone, probably before this series is over, since we never heard of it otherwise, unless Stamets is turning into the Traveler or a Q.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting conversation to be had around like what happens to the spore drive and the Discovery between now and the original series. Like,
it's going to be that it makes Stamets go crazy, or
I hope he turns out like Gary Mitchell. I hope that would be an already really well-worn path in the Trek universe, but like
all the paths are well-worn in the Trek universe. It's okay.
Yeah, that is a criticism that does remain for me with this episode is like at first glance, and this is probably what happened while I was watching it, my brain was so kind of fuzzy that I just assimilated it to my schema of how original series episodes go. Like, all right, you're on a planet, you're trying to achieve some objective, some mysterious alien force takes control of one of your people, that person fights against you guys, you have to fight against that guy, and then at the end of the day, everybody's happy, and the alien force leaves controlling that guy. Which, prima facie, if you're not paying close attention and realizing that it was an actual character moment choice situation for Saru, like that's what it looks like, and it becomes immediately very boring to someone who's watched the original series and knows how these all play out.
And it doesn't help that you don't know at first whether Saru has been possessed or if it is what it turns out to be, that he really truly believes that he wants to stay with the aliens because they give him peace. It's another bit of murkiness in the writing.
I think the writing was attempting to be really subtle, and it was so subtle that it was indistinct.
Yeah.
Like it was
too subtle for network TV.
If it was too subtle for me, it was too subtle. I mean, I usually pick up on subtle things.
Another example of that is that they only mention once why they're going to the planet, and I actually missed that, and I spent most of the episode not knowing why they were there, and later I pieced it together. They say it once and they don't repeat it, and if you miss it, then you're stuck.
What is it from the new Trek film? It's a singularity, a black hole, or from the next gen when somebody says something and then Picard is like, so what you're saying is...
Yeah, exactly. They need more of that.
It's actually helpful. Yeah. So what I'm seeing is I think there's value in me going back and rewatching it. But taking it from the top, I thought the Gagarin was cool looking, right?
Yeah, it looks more like an original series ship than the previous ones we've seen too.
Yeah, maybe it's a newer model. I mean,
a newer, older model.
which is the funny part about these things. Then there was actually, so I was beginning to say this earlier when I was watching it for the second time this morning. There was pathos, like there was real empathy and sadness that I distinguished in myself when that whole ship was just destroyed.
Yeah,
there were two moments like that in this episode. I'm not sure if you remember, you saw Llamas with Hats, right?
Yes, we watched.
Yeah, that's just for the sake of the viewers or the listeners to draw them in. So in Llamas with Hats, there's this one llama who's a serial killer and another llama who is his friend, who is initially skeptical and doesn't really believe or understand that the main llama is a serial killer, and then eventually realizes it, and as the series goes on, dissociates from him and is just horrified. And anyway, in one of the final episodes, the serial killer, realizing his need for companionship, comes back to the apartment of his friend, and he walks in, and the other llama, he's really excited to meet this other llama, which I don't remember the name of. I remember the serial killer's name is Carl. Carl, great series. You should go watch it. It's 20 minutes long, but it's totally worth it. And 20 minutes long, I'm speaking to the millennials who have a fraction of a second ADD, I guess. There's this moment when he walks in, and he's so kind of enthusiastic and excited and curious, and then he sees the skeleton for his friend. And he's like, oh, well, I guess this means you're gone. Huh. And I kind of got that feeling from the loss of Admiral Cornwell near the end, which we're not that clear that she's dead, but whatever. I mean,
you felt for her?
I didn't feel for her. I felt for the Gagarin. And so there's some stuff to say about Cornwell's death. I feel like they really need red shirts for contrast. I think they need to start actually killing more red shirts because
bronze shirts, bronze sightings,
bronze sightings. Yeah, because they keep trying to kill off characters who we haven't really empathized with, but who are basically main characters.
Yes.
That there is going to be some significance to it for us as a viewer. Like thinking that it has some narrative weight, and it doesn't. Like, we don't care about Admiral Cornwell. Not that much. I mean, maybe curious about her fate a little bit. Enough to joke about it last episode, right? But no, when they killed the security chief too, I was just kind of like, huh.
I was glad to see her go. I don't feel like any of these characters could die, and I would feel really profound sadness for them.
I think so. It's a really interesting question how in fiction empathy is created for characters. I think that's something worth exploring. Talking about the whole phenomena of para-social relationships, where people watching TV or reading books find themselves relating to fictional characters as if they're real characters, and that's really how you do it. Is like somehow you activate parts of the brain that gets you to feel what that character is feeling, or understand what that character is going through in such a way that like you start to feel them. You start to maybe even model them in your brain. And like, I don't know, as a person who's not neurotypical, like I always theorize that part of where my brain comes from is like I'm modeling what's going on with them. And then when I really get in the model, this is all theory of mind, by the way, from philosophy of mind. Like when I get into the model, I start imagining how it would feel for me to be in that situation. And then I feel a feeling that is kind of a replica of what they would be feeling. It's not like a direct analog. So this is
a long description of empathy.
It's kind of, I guess it's a long-winded description of empathy. Like what's been missing is, number one, we need characters that we really, really don't care about to die, because then there's a spectrum, then there's a scale of like writerly murderous intent, so to speak. And further up on that scale are people like Cornwell, etc., who like, okay, when they die, we notice, but we don't feel it. And then there's the deaths that really matter, which are like if Kirk dies in Generations, that mattered. I was sad. Data dies. Data dies in Nemesis. That mattered. It was sad. I left that theater depressed. That was a dark ending to the film. I mean,
the whole movie is like a coffin. That's what Plinkett said. It's like a space coffin. I mean, those are examples, though, of those set. Yeah.
So I'm almost finished. I was going to round it out. So, like, when a main character dies, we've appreciated, empathized with so much of them for so long. As they take actions, we kind of vicariously live through them in trying to understand the plot and relate to the world. And like, when they engage in heroism, we really want to own that in our self-concept, just like people do with sports teams, because my guy, oh man, he's a badass or whatever. Now, here's the thing. When you kill off a mid-level character or even with a red shirt, okay, semiotically speaking, it is a way of proving that the situation is serious, like Guy says in Galaxy Quest. But a mid-level character is just kind of like, it's not strong enough a signal for it to really register. It's more like noise. And so I think that if they're going to use this narrative freedom that they have in the serialization of modern television and, it's rated TV MA or whatever, like they should really only kill people at the bottom end of the spectrum, because that is enough of a signal for us to notice, especially in the vernacular of Star Trek, or top level, like hardcore, seriously, we've gotten to know this person and now you've killed them and we feel it, right? So that's my
closest we've gotten to that was Captain Georgiou.
Yeah, and even with her, we didn't have time, right? With all these characters, we didn't have time to empathize with them. I mean, if they tried to kill Stamets, I would be sad. I would be upset. I would feel something.
We've seen him change a lot.
Yeah, we've seen him change a lot, but I know what's possible for him now. So I see him as the highest expression of him, which is this kind of loving, generous, scientific, joyful explorer. Not this tense, anxious. And you know, what's cool is part of him that showed up right after the spores and he, you know, created the relationship, is still there. It's expressing itself so powerfully that the older other part of him got activated. Like, he cares about Hugh so strongly, and maybe they both coexisted, but like, and we just saw him expressing that in a bubbly way in the last episode or whatever. Oh, Hugh's so sweet to me, you know, that it seemed like a different person, but like maybe they were always there and it's just how they got expressed that got shifted.
I like that Tilly calls him out on going back to being grumpy, and persnickety she calls him.
Yeah, I loved that word use.
It's good to find someone calling him out on being not a really great person to work with when he's in his normal mood. Yeah,
for sure. I think so there's more to say in other areas of this episode. The Klingon ships at the beginning, I guess they were kind of cool. The Destroyer or whatever that we never see in the original series, that we've never seen before. Really big one.
Didn't really get a good look at him. I feel like all the CGI shots since the first 2 episodes have been, you don't really get a good look at anything.
Well, here's another thing. Like, with the CGI, I get that they've got a huge budget, and I get that they really want to show off, and I get that all of it is, you know, really beautiful and entertaining and engaging, but like, beyond a certain point, it's kind of like, do we really need this much CGI? I mean, like, they've really done well in creating a universe and creating different worlds and showcasing action scenes and whatever, and like the sets are very elaborate, but like, it almost feels like they have too much money. Like,
it does seem that way, especially when you look at the Orville, which has a very obviously very small budget and is very good Star Trek.
Yeah, it's kind of the original series feel.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, the big budget.
I don't know about you, but there's only 2 things that draw me to any kind of entertainment, and it's CGI and shield percentages.
Well, this has got those with applause.
This didn't have any shield percentages, but they did say something like the shields are low or they're about to go or something like that. That was good enough for me.
Percentages?
Oh, they were? Okay, good.
33%, for example.
That's the source of all narrative tension in my mind.
No, it is not. So, yeah, I liked how ambiguous. I mean, eventually, I like how ambiguous L'Rell is. Like, I mean, it's clear to us a couple things. 1, she doesn't like Cole. 2, she's out for herself at all costs, whatever that is, whatever her agenda actually is. And 3, noticeable, clear, distinct was the absence of Vok.
Of course, because he's Ash Tyler.
That's what we all assume, right? We assume that.
I think at this point, Ash Tyler seems so genuine. It must be that Vok's memories or personality is implanted deep within Ash Tyler, and the reason L'Rell wants to get to the Discovery is that she'll press a button or something and reactivate Vok inside of Ash Tyler.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, I do like that theory. I think it's a fun, interesting theory.
I don't think it's going to play out in the next episode, though, because I think they want to build up the relationship of Ash Tyler and Michael Burnham. Because then when Ash Tyler transforms into Vok, who hates Michael Burnham more than anything in the world, that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, they need more love between them. It's basically, I also feel like their romance was kind of, I get that he likes her, and I do get that she likes him, but the kind of glitter and pizzazz of them kissing was taken out by the fact that we saw it last week. I mean, like,
did that end up going into the time stream or whatever it is they say?
So it actually didn't happen, but visually speaking and experientially speaking, we as the viewer have seen their first kiss. And, you know, Tyler even says, my favorite line in the whole episode, like, I'm so sorry we missed our first kiss. Like, it happened, and they know it happened, but
don't tell me it didn't happen.
Yeah, we don't need to go there. we don't experience it as part of the main time stream, which is actually kind of a very high level temporal concept for them to be using on this show. I mean, in the early original series, you kind of get the sense that they're like stumbling around whenever they time travel, and it's kind of like really new, and they're like, huh, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
And they seem to have kind of a higher level awareness of it, which, I mean, so maybe Discovery is from Section 31, and Section 31 knows about all that stuff. I mean, we still don't know who the black badges are. Special security forces. Yeah.
We haven't heard anything about that. That was in the third episode, and they just dropped it.
Yeah. I mean...
Interesting. Did the writers forget?
I don't know. That would be sad. That would be disappointing if they did. But what else? I'm glad that Tyler and Burnham kissed. I'm glad that that's going on. But some people online were like complaining about the needs of the many being kind of botched by the way that they were saying it. That quote,
I found that interaction kind of cringeworthy.
Really?
It was like, oh, what are they talking about? Oh, it's such a clever reference.
Yeah, it wasn't that clever. I mean, it was like, oh, we know what you're saying. We know what you're about to say. We know what you've said. We wish you hadn't said it. So this really, to me, overall, felt like a kind of slow but necessary episode to build up and bridge the gap between like the kind of drama that we've had recently and where we're going, which is this climactic battle at the end of the season. So
yeah, I can appreciate that. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, and it didn't take itself too seriously, but it took itself seriously enough for things to have impact, and it had this good sort of original series texture to it and a lot of level details.
Yeah, I'm seeing that now, and I'm appreciating it more. I think that I really wish they had been less confusing with Laurel, which we talked about. But like,
when you've got a plot point about a character who's being deceptive and tricky, then you need to make everything else around that really clear, because otherwise it's just going to be really confusing all the time.
Yeah. Like, whose side is she really on? I mean, like,
I have no idea. No one knows.
I mean, I think. Oh, and okay, this was really great. Like, what the heck is going on with all those dead Klingon bodies?
Oh yeah, you think they're eating them?
No, I don't think they're eating them. I just think they're like, why is there number one, why is there a room where you just throw your dead bodies?
You don't have that?
No, Richard. Do you?
That's where I usually go to record.
That's terrifying, Richard. You're actually a serial killing llama, apparently.
That's just like your opinion, man.
It's a story that I have. It's the story that I tell myself, that you're terrible for being a serial killer.
That's right.
There are directions you can take that training, by the way, that are not good for humanity. I mean, I bet I've always imagined, like, what if a serial killer did the landmark for them? Like, they'd be like, it's all empty and meaningless. I get to kill as many people as I want with no guilt. I mean, I guess if you're a serial killer, you don't have guilt to start with. But anyway, and you have like this metaphysical rationale and justification that is actually unassailable. I mean, who is to say that
let's not go too far in that direction.
Well, so I just want to say this because it casts a different light on the whole show. David Hume once wrote, I think it was in a treatise on human nature. He said, "It is not irrational to prefer the destruction of the human race to me having a little finger itch. Like it's not irrational." And he was coming from. There's no.
Who was that again?
It was David Hume.
Oh my.
Yeah, he was saying how there's
not exactly a heavy metal guy.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he was kind of fat, from what I understand. I don't associate fat with heavy metal for some reason. Actually, one of the best jokes that was made about this show so far was Clay on the Penske Files was talking about "Choose Your Pain," and he was saying it makes a really great heavy metal band album title. Choose your pain.
Yeah, the Klingons are very heavy metal in this show. The sarcophagus ship, the ship of the dead, the room full of dead people.
Heavy metal. They are wearing it.
Yeah, they're wearing it too.
Yeah, I had a lot less to say about this episode. I mean, I also was really, as I said, I probably exhausted when I watched it. I haven't quite finished my second watch through, and I tried to read some of the articles online, but one of them was trying to compare this to Errand of Mercy, the original series episode where the Klingons and the humans meet with the Organians. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I think the big, really strong difference is the Pavins aren't strong enough to make a difference between Klingons and the Federation. Like,
we don't think so.
They're not omnipotent. They don't seem omnipotent. They seem kind of, I don't know. The Pavins, yeah, I wanted to talk about them. They're weird, and they look a lot like the Spores.
Yeah, like in that phase where I didn't remember why they went to the planet, I thought maybe they were getting more spores.
It's so funny to me to imagine you watching this show and just not knowing what's going on.
I was just rolling with it. I was assuming they were going to repeat it, but they didn't.
Actually, this is another great point that I heard when I was listening to the Penske File today. It isn't clear what they're up to. Like, they're kind of like reconfiguring that tower thing somehow to do stuff. But I guess it's because they don't repeat it that it's not as clear to the viewer. Like, not only is it not clear what they're doing, but like, it's not clear how doing whatever they're going to do is going to do any good for anybody. Like, yeah.
It's supposed to be a way to break through what they call the invisibility screens that the Klingons have, right?
Yeah, I thought that was also kind of weird. It was kind of like...
Oh, but, in Balance of Terror, Spock calls the cloaking device an invisibility screen. So that's the right terminology for the time.
Oh, you know what? And that's how they knew what that was. Balance of Terror.
Yeah, although Spock says it's purely theoretical, but I don't know.
Maybe
a lot of the stuff in this war was classified.
Yeah, maybe the Klingons kill off an entire generation of Starfleet and humanity, and
they lose institutional knowledge of this generation.
The what?
They lose institutional knowledge of this generation.
Yeah. What are hologram transmitters? Yeah. Well, I mean, we know that the Constitution-class ships exist right now.
Yep, the Enterprise exists.
The Enterprise, yeah, it's out there. I thought that name drop was kind of shameless a couple episodes ago. I mean, it was cool.
Oh, but... it's got to happen.
Yeah, I cringe at the thought that like they're going to bring Spock on somehow.
I don't think so.
A third actor to play Spock?
I think they know that's a bridge too far. I would like to think that they wouldn't do that.
What I hope they do somehow, but it would be complete fan service, was, William Shatner wants to be on the show.
It would have to be he goes through whatever that thing is that made them old in that original series episode.
Well, it would have to be like him, old version of him from the Nexus, shows up to do some stuff, and then everybody has to forget about him, and like it gets classified or something. And yeah, he actually, so when he was interviewed, he talked about how he wants to have there be a movie or like an episode or something where it's him like trying to get back in the saddle, but his body is like slower, and he's having to deal with like being physically incapable.
Trying to deal with like diabetes and congestive heart failure, like arthritis, and like he can't bathe anymore. He has to use one of those standing bathtubs. That sounds good.
Man, he looks so different when you look at pictures of him. Oh,
he's really changed.
He's really old.
He's really expanded.
He's really expanded, yeah. But
speaking of expansion, the Vulcan Starfleet guy who's not Tuvok says that if we don't find a way to break through the Klingon invisibility screen, there's going to be exponential growth in casualties. I don't see any reason for the growth to be exponential. That would be like every day they kill twice as many as the previous day. I think he meant to say linear growth in casualty.
I also think, like considering wars in general, 400 and however many souls, that's not a lot of souls.
The numbers are really pretty small. I mean, it's kind of a general thing in Star Trek. They talk about like a planet was destroyed and millions of people were killed. Like, okay.
And the other thing is like, what is a Vulcan? Well, I guess, Katra, maybe Katra got mistranslated as soul. Like they talk about souls a lot in this show.
Oh, I think that's just like naval terminology to refer to people as like the ship has X many souls.
Oh, okay. That fits better. I feel kind of there's like a vertigo from how powerfully the war shifts from day to day or from episode to episode.
It's very inconsistent.
Like, we're winning the war. I mean, wait, no, the war's going badly because of their invisibility screens that they had from the beginning, but now suddenly everybody has on their side, and it's bad.
It is pretty inconsistent.
I mean, pictures of William Shatner on Google.
Well, I've gone through all my notes here except for one remaining one, which is that the Admiral says there's no death penalty in the Federation, which is false because there's like General Order 7 or something from original series. But I figure, it's not like she's going to say, like, in that situation, in like when this Klingon's about to torture her, like, we don't have the death penalty except for this one thing called General Order 7.
Well, Christopher Pike is still in command of the Enterprise, and I don't believe the cage has happened yet.
I think it has.
You sure?
I'm pretty. This is 2256, and the cage is 2254, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, it's definitely after the cage, because people were upset because it must mean that they switched the uniforms to the current uniforms, and then later they're going to switch back.
Well, here's the thing. I believe that even that General Order were classified. We see this later on in the original series, in the Menagerie, that like it's forbidden for you to go to that planet, and it's probably, for all we know, forbidden for you to be aware of it. So I think that they just don't know. She just doesn't know about General Order 7 because, like, maybe it's the one that nobody knows what it's about except for captains or something. Could be. like the Omega particle thing.
I mean, I guess 7 is a pretty low number.
Yeah, I'm really curious about all the General Orders.
It's on Memory Alpha. It's a pretty good article.
Yeah, really? You read them all?
Yeah. There's also General Order 4, which carries the death penalty.
Really?
Yeah, but it's not clear what it is. They just mention it, and they never say what it is.
Let's see. The only death penalty left in the books. Yeah, that's funny. They don't tell you what it is.
I like that. It's a little mysterious.
This is something fun to talk about. So General Order 6, which seems very specific, very particular, like to be a general order. It seems like it really apply to very specific circumstances.
It's called specific order.
If all life aboard a Federation starship has perished, the ship will self-destruct within 24 hours to protect other ships from potential hazards within. I mean, like, where do you get that from?
No, these orders and their numbers are crazy. There's also General Order 24, which is to destroy all life on a planet. Like, that's number 24. That's like the 24th thing you do.
Only if a commanding officer deems that a society poses a clear and present danger to the Federation.
Yeah, Federation has big talk about how it's all nice and has humane interrogation and there's no death penalty.
Order, yeah.
Yeah. Then there's General Order 24.
Then there are other ones that like kind of make sense, like General Order 272. The Iconians are to be left alone.
What happens between 24 and 272?
I don't know, a lot of things.
Do you think the order is like the order that someone thought of these things, or are they in order of importance?
Well, I mean, we know, of course, that the writers, they were just like, there's got to be a number. We'll pick a number randomly and add it to the list and just skip a bunch because, that works. I'm really glad you have that function that skips dead air because we had like 5 seconds. Are you dead?
I'm alive.
Oh, good. Yeah, I thought you were gone. Yeah, so final thought, I think, would be good for this episode.
What's your numerical score?
It's very different from me usually. It's a 7 out of 10.
Yeah?
Actually, wait. No. 7.7. Because of the references and the things that you told me that I didn't realize that make it a good bit better. I mean, and really, you know what? Stepping back from that, I'm going to rate my experience of the episode so far. And what I mean by that is not the episode itself, but like how much I have loved my experience of the episode. It was, of course, fragmented and fractured and messed up by the fact that I was exhausted, the fact that I didn't catch all the references, didn't quite see the subtleties of what was going on. Like, yeah, that's 7.7. Yeah.
I'd give it a 9.
A what?
I'd give it a 9. I had a fun time.
Oh, well, this is after, what was your rating for the last one?
7.
Oh,
We're exactly reversed. Except you gave that like 9.9 or something, I think.
yeah.
The next episode looked real good too.
That's funny. That's so funny.
Well, we're even now. We take the average and we're the same.
Oh, man. So yeah.
Good.
You want to hear about Regulation 2477.3?
Let's hear about it.
Officers are prohibited. ...
I heard officers are prohibited, and then dead air.
Yeah, that's all we know.
That's it?
That's actually all we know. Officers are prohibited from something.
No officers allowed. All right. Well, thanks for listening, all, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Good luck, and congratulations.
Live long and congratulations.